Hi, it's Doc Scantlin here. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. I wanted to give you a little story that I think it's funny and it's kind of scary. And it's a story about when I used to work for Gruhn, George Gruhn at Gruhn Guitars in Nashville in the late 70s. And I was a repairman there for several years. And George was my boss. And George loved his repairmen. He would give all the repairmen keys to the shop so we could go to the front door, the security buttons that you pushed, and we could disable the security alarm, open the gate, open the door, and go in like we own the place. There's tens of thousands worth of dollars worth of musical instruments in there. 3 o'clock in the morning, we'd be upstairs working in our underwear. He thought we were artists. And he said, artists are peculiar and I have to cater to them. They help me sell my instruments because without them, I got to get these instruments fixed. I can't sell a lot of them like they are. So he really loved us and I really loved him. I think he was a wonderful person and he still is, I'm sure. Although I haven't seen him in many, many years, I do see him on YouTube a little bit. And he knew so much and he loved his employees, so that was a wonderful thing. But I have an interesting story. I think you'll find an interesting story about a fella, I think it was in Wisconsin, who bought a 1930s Martin D28 herringbone guitar. Pretty rare guitar at the time. I think he paid probably, I'm going to guess around $1,800, $1,500. This was in the late 70s now when by the way, I had a friend in Michigan who had an original D45 that lived across the street from me. And when he died, George wanted me to offer his widow $2,400 for the D45 and thought it was an incredibly generous offer. So that gives you an idea of what these instruments were worth in the late 1970s. So back to my story. We got this guitar, George sold this guitar. And the funny thing about this guitar was in very nice shape, except on the top, in the lower bout, near the edge, near the binding, the white binding that went around there, there was a half a dozen or so, looked like buckshot holes. It's exactly what it looked like. They didn't go through to the back or anything, but it looks like maybe somebody took an ice pick and went pop, 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 right through the top. And it was very noticeable. And George says, I want you to fix these. So he gave it to me and I said, okay. So I took it upstairs and I talked to some of the guys and I said, you know, I think I need just to take that section out, that little 1.5 inch section or whatever, that lower bout at the edge. I'll just take that out and put a whole new piece of spruce in. Match it as good as I can and I think that's going to look much better than trying to repair each of these little holes. And you're going to have a little patch here, a little patch here, a little patch here, a little patch here. And I never thought anything about that was a bad idea. Anyway, I said, I got this one, no problem. So I did it. And it looked good. I thought it looked pretty good. It wasn't completely invisible. Now, as you move, when you put a new patch of wood in, it's hard to get the way the grain, the angle of the grain, it's hard to get. So when you change, it may look perfect at one angle. And as you change the angle a little bit, then you notice, oh, this is a different piece of wood here. So anyway, I did it, sent it back down and didn't hear anything. And then a couple of days later, I get a call upstairs in the shop. Mr. Scantlin, Mr. Gruhn wants to talk to you in his office. I said, okay. So I walked downstairs in his office. Now, George is a bit eccentric like some of the rest of us. And he loved snakes and he loved different unusual animals. And at this period, he had a huge aquarium that was maybe, well, I don't know for sure, maybe about 6 feet high that was up on a pedestal and 6 feet long, I'm sorry, up on a pedestal, maybe 6 feet high too, full of piranha, maybe 10 or 20 piranha. I don't know how many piranha fish were in there. And he would throw in their raw liver and stuff and watch him frenzy to eat this. And I never really watched him eat, but that's what I was told. So I went into his office, and I think he had a stuffed python all coiled, ready to strike there on the floor too. So I went into the office and he was rocking in his rocking chair, kind of nervously rocking in his rocking chair, looking straight ahead, very serious looking. And I sat down and I said, George, you wanted to see me? How are you doing? He said, how am I doing? To say I am extremely upset would be a gross understatement. And I said, oh, what's wrong? He said, what's wrong? You ruined that herringbone guitar. It's ruined. And I said, oh dear. I said, I had no idea. I thought it looked pretty good. I thought I did a good job, actually. It's ruined. He'll never buy it. And I said, well, if he doesn't buy it, George, I'll buy it. And George looked at me and he says, you can't afford it. And I said, well, I can't afford it right now, but I'll pay you over time and I'll buy it. I promise I will. I will do it. And he said, well, I'll send it out and we'll see what happens. So I think I calmed him down a little bit. Anyway, I didn't hear anything from him. And then a couple weeks later, I think maybe we went out to lunch together or something. And I said, oh, by the way, George, whatever happened with that herringbone D28 that went to Wisconsin? And he said, he loved it. Kind of, he couldn't believe that the guy loved it. I said, really? He said, yes, he loved it. I said, okay, that's fine. Good. End of discussion. So that's kind of an interesting story. Again, George Gruhn was somebody that I had such admiration for two reasons. He was such a good businessman. He was an encyclopedia of the musical instruments, the vintage musical instruments. And the main thing is he treated his employees, and especially his repairmen, so well. And I really enjoyed working for George Gruhn. And I hope he's doing well if he sees this video. But anyway, I'm sure he'll remember this story better than I'm telling it. So y'all have a good day, and thank you so much for watching, and maybe some more to come. Ta-ta.